بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولعنة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Firstly, I would like to pay my condolences to Imam of our time, Muhammadi ajallallahu ta'ala farajul sharif, and to you mu'mineen and mu'minat. One of the things that I've been mentioning from the start of my lecture is that the Karbala and Abu Abdullah al-Hussain has many lessons for us that we should learn from them. And this majalis are for us lessons or somewhere we could go and learn about the Islamic perspectives or the Islamic understandings. And majalis are for these purposes, that we build upon our knowledge. And during this Muharram time, many questions appear within one's mind, especially our youth. We see many questions from them, and it is important that we answer those questions in greater depth, not just answering them in general. Because if we don't answer those questions or answer those doubts, slowly those doubts and answers make their faith, makes their iman weaker. So tonight I will be going through some questions, and inshallah hopefully we will discuss it in a greater depth in order to have a better understanding. One of the questions that appear within a youth's mind is, whenever they see Muharram, people wear black clothes, or people have different, people wear black clothes, people recite eulogies, people take majalis, people make their streets black, for example. People go on the street and beat their chest, so on and so forth. Our azadaris are normally like this, that either we go to Imam Barga, we go to Masajid, we go to for example, we hire halls and we do azadari. We have a specific way of azadari. Now, someone might come and say that what is the point of this azadari? And we usually come up with the answer telling them that because Imam Hussain was martyred and we remember him. Simple answers that we give. But tonight, inshallah, we will discuss it in greater depth. One of the questions that is my topic is, why should we honor Ashura? Or why should we commemorate Ashura? The tragedy of Ashura. Why should we? It is an incident that took place 1,300 something years ago. And we are still commemorating it. We are still honoring the tragedy of Ashura. It has happened, and now we should let it go. It's a very simple question, and inshallah we will try our best to give an answer, a simple answer. We can answer this in this manner, that within the history we see different incidents has taken place, and each incident has its own influence on individuals and as a society. Now, when we look at Ashura, the incident of Ashura, the Ashura has influence, individual influence and social influence. So in regards to have that influence upon us, we have to remember those great events. If we want to have that blessing that the other people before us had, that, or the values that they had, if we want that values within our lives, or if we want those positive effects within our lives, we have to remember those events. This is one way of giving answer. Secondly, in every society we see people remember their loved ones, remember their heroes, remember the people that they liked, or the people they think were great. We see this within our society, within every country or within every nation. And it is very normal that we see people honoring their individuals or honoring their specific event that took place years ago. And this is within our fitrah. This is very natural that we remember those things. And let's give it a name. A name, for example, we can name it the nature of thanking and remembering. We have this within ourselves. We see this within countries. If a hero, for example, someone who defended their country, and on that day that he was martyred, the whole country remembers those person. The whole country. And everyone is thankful to that person, despite he's no more with us. So this is something very normal, which is within us, that we remember the people who worked hard for us, who worked hard for the values, who worked hard for example, defending their land, defending their honor. We have this within our society, within ourselves, that we remember those people. And it is very natural. And I feel sometimes I'm amazed that we see some of our people, they say that, oh, why are you commemorating something happened years ago between two Arabs, this and that? Those were Arabs, we have nothing to do with the Arabs. From one sense, yes, we have nothing to do with the Arab, but we care about the values that what happened. We care about the characteristics, we care about the noble personalities. Imam Hussain. We have nothing to do with the Arab, or being Irani, or being Pakistani, or being Iraqi, or being Australian, whatever it is. We care about the noble characteristics they had, the noble aims they had. We care about them. We value those things. We value those factors. And that is why we remember them. And it is very natural within our society. So if you come and ask me this question, it is very foolish of you, because it is within the society and within all of us. Now, you don't accept him as a hero, it's your problem. We love him. We love Abu Abdullah al-Hussain. And we care for him. And we love his values. We love his noble personality. We love him because he was chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why we remember him. We truly believe that Ashura is a great incident in the history of Islam. And as a Muslim, I have to know the history of Islam and know what happened in Islam and learn from it. And I need to revive all the values that are important in Islam. That is why I commemorate, I honor the tragedy of Ashura. I learn from it. It is very natural. And as I said before, by remembering Ashura, by remembering about Abdullah Hussain, I'm showing, what am I showing? I'm showing that I care about the values, I care about the religion, I care about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands. I care about all these things. That is why I remember them. Isn't it great? So this is a very simple way of answering this question, that why do we commemorate the tragedy of Ashura or of Abdullah al-Hussain or honor these great noble personalities? Because it's natural. The second question, the first question was this. Let's come to the second question. The second question is, why is the discussion method not enough to commemorate Ashura? So why do we have a specific way of azadari? For example, we have Majlis, we do Majlis, we do Marsiya Khani, we recite eulogies, we do Majalis in Agha, we do it on the streets, we do it, for example, in Masajid. And we have a specific way of azadari. Some people come and ask this question, that why do you do this specific way of azadari? Yes, we do accept it, that Abdullah al-Hussain sacrificed himself for great values, for the love of Allah, for all these things. But why do you commemorate in this specific way? For example, at the start of Muharram, you wear black clothes, you put black flags around the streets, within your houses, and you cry, and you beat your chest, and there's an alim who comes and gives lecture, for example. This is another question. And sometimes they say, because of Muharram, we see that people close their work. They don't go to work, or they are busy in Muharram, so on and so forth. They say sometimes we even get financial loss. So why can't we have seminars? Why can't we have round table discussions? Why can't we have conferences? Why can't we have this? Why can't we have academic articles? Why can't we have books written about Karbala and Imam Hussain? So this is one of the other questions that I would like to answer. Now, after understanding that the tragedy of Karbala, Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam has positive influence upon individual and society, then I can move forward. If someone from the first stage, he doesn't accept any positive influence, he doesn't accept the values that Hussain stood for, he doesn't accept any of these, that we can't really go forward with that person in this discussion. Now moving forward, yes, we get there is a positive influence from the remembrance, from honoring Ashura and Abdullah al-Hussain. Now let's answer the second question, that why do we commemorate in this specific way, and seminars, conferences, books, roundtable discussions, these are not enough. Why do you have to do this majalis in this certain way? Now, firstly, let's be clear on this point, which is the conferences, the seminars regarding Abdullah al-Hussain, the lectures, the written books regarding Abdullah al-Hussain, academic articles, roundtable discussions, these are all great in its place. No one's denying the importance of all these ways. all these methods of preaching. No one's denying it. These are happening. It's not that they are not happening. There are many conferences regarding Abdullah al-Hussein's message. There are many seminars regarding Abdullah al-Hussein's message. And there are huge numbers of books regarding Abdullah al-Hussein and his message. So these are happening. Now, answering why is this not enough? To answer this question in a greater depth so we understand it, we need to put our psychological lenses to understand this topic, to understand the answer of this question. For a human behavior to change, or for a human to move towards an action, I have a question. Is knowing enough? Is knowledge enough for a person to move towards something? To make him perform an act? Is that enough? Just knowing it, or just the knowledge part, is that enough for a person to be like someone, to be like Hussein, and to act like him, and to have intention like him, and so on and so forth? When we reanalyze our behavior, we come to this conclusion that there are two main factors that has great effect on our behavior, that makes our behavior. One is the knowledge part, of course. Sometimes we do get it. I have no knowledge, but I still go and do something, which is lagh, which is a wise person doesn't do that. A wise person knows the benefits and the pros and the cons, and then he goes and does something. So knowing is very important. That is the first thing. That I need to know why Ashura took place. What are the benefits that I'm commemorating it now, especially in this specific way. So knowledge is very important. Sometimes the knowledge is either through intellectual understanding, sometimes either it is through experimental understanding, and other ways of knowing things. The question is knowing enough to make a person move, to make a person act? Is that enough? But through examples, inshallah, I'll go through that knowing is not always enough for a person to act. There's another very important factor which plays a vital role in our actions, which is the desire, which is the motive, which is the emotions. You name it. These are the things that are within us. If intellect or the knowing part with the emotions, they come together, then the action will be performed in its best manner. I'll go through some of the examples to make this clear. For example, if we analyze our behavior, the movement of an individual, the action of an individual is not always based upon his knowledge, but the person needs the desire to go and perform those actions. The person needs to have those feelings within himself to go and perform those actions, and that is very important too. For every action we can say that we need to have the desire to do it. I'll give you an example. Yes, some questions are answered through knowledge. For example, why did Imam go towards Karbala? Why did Imam took his family with himself? Why did companions stood by Abu Abdullah al-Hussein? Why? We get this through intellectual understanding. We get this through discussion. But sometimes these discussions are not enough for me to be like Hussein. I need something else. And that is the emotion, the desire part. I'll give another example. For example, a smoker. He knows that smoking doesn't benefit him. And it's a danger for his health, but still he smokes. The doctor tells him stop smoking, he still smokes. But then someone that he loves, if that person comes towards him and says that either you quit smoking or you quit me, basically, you leave me. Because this person loves the other person who said quit smoking, he will quit smoking because of that, because of the desire to be with that person, the love he has for that person. So this shows that always knowing doesn't bring the movement. Or another example I would like to give. For example, a sick person. You take delicious food in front of him. You tell that person that this food has this benefit, this food has minerals, protein, this and that. That person's sick. The person says, I know this food has these benefits, but I don't feel like eating it. See that other important part, just knowing sometimes doesn't bring the performance, the action. Now that we understand at least that we need two things for an action to perform. One is knowledge, knowing the thing. And secondly, the emotion, the desire, the motive. Again, you call it, you name it. We need both of them for a movement to take place. Sometimes the desire plays a vital, better role than the knowledge itself. Sometimes you know something is wrong, but because the desire is there, you go and do it. That is why we see a lot of scholars, they know what is right, what is wrong. But because of the desire, the motive which is inside, the emotion part, the feeling part which is inside, he goes and commits that thing. Now, just knowing that Hussain alayhi salam went to Karbala, just knowing Hussain alayhi salam stood against oppression, just knowing the companions, what they did, just knowing brings change within ourselves, within our behavior, or we need emotions too. For example, in the Battle of Karbala, we see the companions, how they were eager about martyrdom, to go and fight and sacrifice their life for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just knowing this is enough. Having no desire at all, having no emotions at all, having no feelings at all. Is that enough? Or I'll give another example, because when I give more examples, it's better for all of us to understand that emotion plays a vital role. Sometimes knowing things won't make a great change, but when you see something, it makes a great change for you. I'll give an example here. Someone was innocent and died. Someone killed him, or someone oppressed the other person, and the other person died because of the oppression. You know it. But sometimes you see it with your own eyes. And this makes a huge difference upon your behavior, upon your psychological part. You might not sleep for days, for weeks, because you have seen it in front of your eyes. Compared to, you just knew about it, you heard about it. See the difference here? How we have been created like this, my brothers and sisters. Our creation is like this. That when we see something, when we observe something, it has greater effect upon us by just knowing it. Or another example, for example, we know within our society there are a lot of poor people that are living. Does this bring change within me? Sometimes it does for some people, but not for all. I know there are poor people living within my community. Does just knowing brings the change that I'm going to go and what? Give charity. But imagine now that you go and visit those poor people. Visit and see their lifestyle. Visit the hardship they go through. And you see it with your own eyes. When you see it with your own eyes, yes, your hand goes inside your pocket and you take out money to help them out. So we have been created like this. The emotion part is very important, my brothers. Also, the intellectual part is very important. If we leave the intellectual part and just take the emotion part, what happens is the distortion of the message of Abdullah al-Hussain happens. Unfortunately, in the past, within our society, for example, Koita, a lot of our youth, they have the emotion part of it. But the intellectual part, they didn't quite went through it. There are many factors, unfortunately. In the past, some of the ulamas, they spoke pure Farsi, pure Persian. Some of our brothers, they didn't get it. That's why they didn't attend Majlis to get the knowledge of it. But they got the emotion part of it. Sometimes just the emotion part is bad. And also, sometimes just the knowing part doesn't bring the change between you. But now, alhamdulillah, ulamas are going, the youth are attending the majalis, which is great. Because we need both of them. We need to know why we are doing this. And at the same time, we need to have the emotion, the desire within us. And even this is mentioned in Holy Quran. In the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. When Prophet Musa was invited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to come to the mountain and pray, worship. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَوَعَدْنَا مُوسَى 30 لَيْلَةً وَأَتْمَمْنَاهَا بِعَشْرٍ. So he was invited for 30 nights and then extra 10 days were given. So he stayed 40 nights. And the people of Hazrat Musa, the people of Bani Israel, just knew that Hazrat Musa went for 30 nights. Didn't know Allah gave him another 10 nights there. It was a trial, it was a test for the people of Bani Israel. So the 30 nights went and the people of Bani Israel came to Hazrat Harun alayhi salam, the successor of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam and his brother. They used to come to Hazrat Harun alayhi salam, and he used to ask, why isn't Musa coming? Where is he? He said he's going for 30 nights. The first day they came, Harun alayhi salam said, be patient, he's going to come. The second day, and so on. They were impatient. Allah was testing them. And then what happened? A person by the name of Samiri, he created a cow for these people to come and worship. And it has been mentioned in Quran, Hada ilahukum wa ilahu Musa. This is the God of you and the God of Musa that has gone to worship him. And Harun alayhi salam, who is within the people, he was telling the people, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But they oppressed Hazrat Harun alayhi salam. And even they wanted to kill Harun alayhi salam. And this is what happened behind Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. When Hazrat Musa alayhi salam was in the mountain praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 40 nights that he went. And during that time, Allah told Hazrat Musa alayhi salam that the people, the condition of your people are like this. They are worshipping a cow. And Hazrat Musa alayhi salam didn't show huge reaction. But when the 40 nights ended, when he came back, when he saw the people worshipping a cow with his own eyes, look at his reaction. وَأَلْقَى الْأَلْوَاحِ بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وَأَلْقَى الْأَلْوَاحِ وَأَخَذَ بِرَأْسِ أَخِيهِ يَجُرُّهُ إِلَيْهِ. And look at the reaction of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Prophet Musa alayhi salam threw the tablet, the thing that he brought with himself for the people. He threw the tablet and he went and took the head of his brother, Prophet Harun, Hazrat Harun alayhi salam, and became so angry and pulled him towards himself. And he said, why haven't you done something? And then Hazrat Harun alayhi salam replied, oh brother, they oppressed me. I told them they oppressed me. They were about to kill me. You see the difference between just knowing and when you see within your eyes. It's a huge difference, my brothers. Now we can see that our creation is like this, that when we observe something, it has a greater influence upon our behavior, upon our understanding. Likewise in the battle of Karbala. Now we have heard of the Karbala, that we know it. But sometimes the tear doesn't come. We see that. I know the battle of Karbala within my mind. But that doesn't really brings those emotions. But when I come to Majlis, when someone with a good voice starts reciting the eulogies, Marsiya Khani, all these things, my tears come down. And I connect with Allah and with Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Now concluding this answer, that we need both things. Our way of Majalis, alhamdulillah, there's intellect part into it. There's the emotion part into it. The beating of chest, the wearing of black clothes, putting banners, putting black flags, crying. All those things are the emotion part of it, which connects us with the message of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. The first part is what? The intellectual part, when an alim comes and explains everything. The other part is the emotion part, which is so important. I'm running out of time. Which is so important. And we have to have emotions in order for us to move towards an action. We have to activate our emotions. We have to. Sometimes we see so-called, I don't know, what should I call them? They stand just to the side. They don't do really good matam. They don't recite. They feel shame to cry. It is very important, my brothers and sisters, that we have the emotion and the intellectual part to be like Hussain, and to perform like Hussain, and to perform like the companions of Hussain. Just knowing doesn't bring the desire to sacrifice yourself for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the emotion side that pushes you, and the intellectual side, the ishq side, the love side. Another question is, why do we have to mourn? Why do we have to do azadari? Why can't we celebrate? This is another question that we get. Why do we have to cry? Why do we have to mourn? Why do we have to beat our chest? Why do we have to recite eulogies? Why can't we just be happy and that's it? Now, to answer this question, we come to this conclusion that emotions have different types, and each emotion should be comparable to that event. Now, we can't have a sad event and be happy, and we can't have a happy event and be sad. And secondly, we can answer this, that azadari brings those perfect emotions within us, which is similar to the message of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And the crying part, the beating of chest, the eulogies, this creates love and ishq with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, which the laughing part just laughing, all these things doesn't bring those connection with Allah, Abdullah Hussain and his message. One of his messages, for example, sacrificing yourself for the sake of Allah. Whenever the religion of Islam wants your wealth, you give it. Whenever Islam wants your life, you give it. Just laughing and being happy doesn't give you this feeling, doesn't give you this feeling of sacrifice. But the crying part does, the azadari part does. And we have experienced it from years, from our imams. After the martyrdom of Abdullah Hussain, this way of azadari is from our imams. And it has a specific meaning. That is why we cry, we mourn. The way our imam and the companions were martyred. Yes, from this part we are happy that these great noble personalities reached the highest levels of perfection. But the way they were martyred, it makes our heart cry. It's a human nature. Moving forward, I don't know how much time do I have. The other question, that is, why should we curse the enemies of Hussain? Let me go through this very quickly because I want our Kazim Behjati to recite his Majlis on time too. Another very important question. Why should we curse the enemies of Islam? We see this within our communities, within other people too. They ask this question. We get it about Abdullah Hussain sacrificed for himself, the companion sacrificed for himself, and we are going to do azadari, this and that. But why do you curse? Why do you create this negative feeling of cursing others? Why can't we just love, so on and so forth? Now the time has changed. The time is the time of love. The time is the time of peace, negotiation, no hatred, so on and so forth. They ask this question. And these questions are asked by some of our brothers, some of the so-called modern people. They ask this question, why do you curse? For example, in Ziyarati Ashura, أَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَى اللَّهِ بِالْبَرَاءَةِ مِنْ أَعْدَائِكُمْ. We say that, oh Allah, I come closer to you by rejecting your enemies. So we have people that they come and say, we shouldn't create negative emotions, we shouldn't curse anyone, we shouldn't have hatred towards anyone, we should just have love, and so on and so forth. Now to answer this question very quickly, let me answer it like this. It is self-evident that we have many types of emotions, as I've said before. I get angry, I get upset, I get happy, I get sad. We have these emotions within us. It is very natural. We have the positive and the negative emotions within us. The Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us like this, that we can laugh and we can cry. We get happy and we get sad. So can I say this, that at the time when I should be happy, I start crying? Or when I should be happy, I shouldn't be happy? Or for example, at the time when I have to cry, I start laughing. Or I don't cry, I just stop crying. No, I'm not crying, for example. Or at the time when I'm angry, I'm like, nah, I'm not angry, I'm happy. So a human has different dimensions, emotional dimensions. If we ignore one side of it, we are neglecting one dimension of a human. And that is very wrong. You're telling me that if someone is angry If someone is upset, you tell him, you start laughing. You be happy. You feel peace. And love, you know, the slogan of love that we get from these people, we truly accept this, that love is within us, is naturally within us. Allah has created us that we love people. How? When someone is helping me out in my, I don't know, daily life affairs or my social work, they help me out and I like them. Why? Because they help me out. I love them because they supported me when no one supported me, and I love them. This is within us. This is how we treat one another. And if I see someone who's got greater intelligence, what happens is I kind of love that person. If someone acts nicely in the best manner possible, what happens is I have love towards that person. Now, if someone helps me out, if someone is beneficial towards my goals, I have the love for that person. Now go and see the opposite side of it. If someone's harming my goals, my aims, if someone is being a hurdle, creating problem for me to reach my goals, automatically what happens is I dislike that person. I don't like it. And if he physically comes and use force, are you going to still say peace, love? I have nothing to do with hatred. I have nothing to do with being the enemy of someone. No. Now, if someone comes and harms your eternal success, this is what Yazid used to do. That is why Abu Abdullah al-Hussain stood up. He was harming the people's eternal success. He was creating the society in a way that people weren't reaching their eternal success, their ultimate perfection. He was harming it. Now the Holy Quran even says this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna ash-shaytana lakum aduun fattakhidhu aduwa. Indeed, shaitan is an enemy to you, so take him as an enemy. If you don't take enemy as an enemy, what happens is by time you become like that enemy. When you reject someone from yourself, you reject the ideology and their behaviors. And if you don't reject those ideologies or those behaviors, what happens is you say it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, the love and everything. You start being like that person. And in another place, Surah An'am, verse 68, وَإِذَا رَعَيْتَ الَّذِينَ يَغُوضُونَ فِي آيَاتِنَا فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ حَتَّى يَغُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and when you see those who engage in offensive discourse concerning our verses, our religion, then turn away from them. You can't be happy and show love towards someone who is insulting Islam, who is oppressing the oppressed. You can't show love towards someone like that. Someone's oppressing someone and he doesn't know. So it's important that we understand this part. In other words, being enemy with the enemy creates the defensive system against the harm and the dangers. We have to remember this, my brothers. In other words, being an enemy with the enemy creates the defensive system against the dangers and the harms. In another verse, Surah Mumtahana, verse 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ كَانَتْ لَكُمْ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ قَدْ كَانَتْ لَكُمْ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ فِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ. There is for you an excellent example in Ibrahim alayhi salam. وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ إِذَا قَالُوا لِقَوْمِهِمْ إِنَّا بُرَآءُ مِنْكُمْ وَمِمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ كَفَرْنَا بِكُمْ وَبَدَا بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْعَدَاوَةُ وَالْبَغْضَاءُ أَبَدًا حَتَّى تُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَحْدَهُ. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Ibrahim alayhi salam is an excellent example for you and those with him. When they say to their people, indeed we are disassociated from you and from whatever you worship other than Allah, we have denied you, and there has appeared between us, between me and you, enmity and hatred forever, unless you stop all the evil that you are doing. There's enmity and hatred between me and you, unless you stop doing those evil things to individuals and to the society as a whole. We have to curse those people who are destroying the society, the peace of the society. This is said very precisely within the Holy Quran. Firstly, that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, you need to learn from him. He's an excellent example for you. And then when the kuffar showed no mercy upon Ibrahim alayhi salam and his companions, Ibrahim alayhi salam said, Inna bura'a'um minkum. We are sick of you. And then what he says? He says that between me and you there's enmity and hatred until the day of judgment, unless you let go of all these evil things that you do. So this is very straightforward, that Islam is telling us that it is not just love. It is not just love. And we have to understand this. On the day of Karbala, you see the words of companions, you see the words of Abdullah al-Hussain. In some parts, they have cursed the side of Yazid for what they were doing. So this is some of the answers. And one of the people that loved Abdullah al-Hussain is Habib ibn Mazahir. Habib ibn Mazahir, when you enter the shrine of Abdullah al-Hussain, Habib ibn Mazahir is on the left side of Abdullah al-Hussain. The historians say that Habib was a very good friend of Abdullah al-Hussain, and he loved Abdullah al-Hussain. When the caravan of Imam Hussain and his family reached Karbala, Lady Zainab Salamullah alayha told his brother, you see who Habib ibn Mazahir is? Lady Zainab used to hear soldiers coming, and she used to tell Fizza, go and check, is there anyone who has come to help my brother? But each time Fizza comes and says, Lady Zainab, no one has come to help your brother. He calls his brother Abdullah al-Hussain and says, you have a very good friend, your lover, Habib. Write him a letter, he will come and support you for the sake of Allah. And he writes the letter to Habib ibn Mazahir. Habib ibn Mazahir gets the letter, and without any hesitation, he moves towards Karbala, despite the borders were closed. Somehow he reaches Karbala and connects to Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam. And then as soon as on the 7th of Muharram he reaches Karbala and connects with Abu Abdullah al-Hussain, a joy happened within the camp of the Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam. Habib ibn Mazahir was a great supporter of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadi wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadi wa ali Muhammad. On the day of Ashura, when Abu Abdullah al-Hussain was praying, from the other side of the camp, someone shouted that, "Oh Hussain, your namaz is not accepted. Your namaz is not accepted." Habib ibn Mazahir, the lover of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain, Habibul Hussain, he became so angry. He took the sword and went towards the side of enemies. He fought bravely, but unfortunately he was martyred brutally. He was beheaded by the enemies. My brothers and sisters, when the caravan of Lady Zainab, after the martyrdom of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain, when the captives were taken towards Kufa and from Kufa to Sham, a soldier had the holy head of Habib. Habib ibn Mazahir had great importance, and everyone wanted to get his head, the holy head of Habib, and get better reward. On the door of Sham, a soldier was holding the head of Habib ibn Mazahir, and he saw a young man was looking at the head of Habib ibn Mazahir, and he wasn't blinking or anything. The soldier became annoyed and he asked the young man, "Why are you staring at this holy head? Why are you staring at this head?" The young man answered, "Hada ra'su abi." "O la'in, O the cursed one, this is my father's head. This is my father's head, and I am Habib's son. Give me my father's head. Give me my father's head." The narrators narrate, no matter how much Habib's son asked for his father's head, they didn't give him. But let me tell you, O mourners of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain, another little young lady by the name of Sakina asked for her father too, but the soldiers didn't accept her plea. But when they accepted, they brought the head of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain and gave it to the little lady, the little girl with her tiny hands holding the hand of her father. Maybe she would have said, "Oh Baba, ya Abata, what has happened to your forehead? Why it is broken? Oh Baba, why is your brother not connected with your hand? Oh Baba, why they have made me orphan? Oh Baba, why is your beard full of blood? Oh Baba, I wish I would have been blinded so I didn't see your head." ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج وجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه. اللهم أعطني بصيرة في دينك وفهما في حكمك. اللهم ارزقني حبك. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم ارزقني شهادة. اللهم ارزقني شهادة في سبيلك. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك على كل شيء قدير. رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة مع الإخلاص والصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآله